All right. Thanks for joining me today. Like I know we've talked about in previous sessions, my name is Matthew. I'm again your therapist today. Before we jump into anything, just like any session, I want to take just a brief moment to kind of explain just the kind of the ground rules of the session and what we're going on kind of in here in my office.
Okay.
First and foremost, feel free to kind of share whatever feels right for you. We can talk about what you're struggling with or kind of your presenting problem today. Everything you shared today is completely confidential, unless at any point you share anything that gives me the belief that you might harm yourself or someone else or another vulnerable population. At that point, I'll have to make a report. I am a mandated reporter. But other than that, we're kind of just free to kind of discuss and work through really whatever is just on your mind today. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Okay. So I know, like I said, this isn't our first session. We've had a couple sessions before this, but I do want to just kind of start by just giving you the floor to kind of discuss maybe why you're here today and kind of just what's on your mind.
Okay, at this time, I'm homeless. Right now my financial situation is really bad. I'm in a place right now where I'm going through hormone therapy, trying to I'm transgender. As have you seen my ID, it states I'm a male.
Yes.
Legally. So, and I've been having issues on the street, with the male population, homeless population. I get harassed a lot. I've had, been a victim of sexual abuse, sexual assault, different situations I've been in. So That's what I'm here for. My main cause.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've been through a lot just to get here today, just to even just make it into my office. It's kind of, you overcame a lot just to be here.
Yeah. Thank you.
It was interesting when you said you identify as male in your license, you almost lit up a little bit. That means a lot to you.
Yeah, it does.
Can you kind of tell me a little bit about that journey of kind of transitioning? And I know you said you're going through hormone therapy. Like, what is that to you? What does that look like today?
Well, as of right now, that's who I've identified since I was young as a male, not as a female. Yeah. And, my legal name is Angela, but I go by the name Angelo. So I prefer to go by Angelo instead of Angela. But it is a big deal for me. I feel really strong about the LGBT community and me being a part of it. So that's part of my identity and who I am.
Absolutely. I know we've only had a couple sessions together, but it's been really evident to me that this is something that you find a lot of pride in. I think that's awesome. Because like you said, you're struggling with being homeless and financial, and I know your kind of relationship with your estranged husband, if I remember correctly, is complicated to say the least.
Yes.
But from what I understand, you have a lot of pride in the LGBT community, and you're really strong and have a lot of just foundation in those people. And that's kind of really become this new family to you.
Yes, it has. Although it's been kind of hard because I kind of feel the community that I live in now, they don't really accept my identity as a male. So that's been the difficulty. And right now I'm getting help from a Christian-based, homeless organization. Okay. And I kind of feel there's a little bit of bias and issues there with, them helping me out also.
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. And I think it's, there's just a lot of cultural stigma around that between what you believe and maybe what this organization believes.
Right.
But at the core of it, it sounds like you're willing to seek the help when you need it. And this organization is willing to give you the help despite maybe their beliefs and your beliefs.
Yeah. There is a few employees that I kind of feel do have that bias, but most overall, like everybody there does accept me for who I am. There's just those few individuals that I could tell they kind of have that little issue with who I identify as.
Right. It's interesting you bring that up, because I think it's being in your position where you're homeless and finances might be difficult. You're, like I said, you're willing to seek the services, which is great. But even in that, you're almost a little hesitant just with some of the people there. Like it might be complicated or confusing, and it's almost uneasy just to kind of walk into that building.
Yeah, no, it is. And especially, I've been in situations where I've had employees, have identified me as it. And that's been kind of hard too, where I get kind of like, I'm a man, I'm not an it.
Yeah, it almost kind of strips that identity from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can just kind of the way you're sitting, it's almost like you kind of changed your perspective a little bit when you say that.
Yeah.
How does that feel to kind of maybe be taken down a step from what you believe that you are to maybe what someone else might believe that you are?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard. It's a difficult situation. And, I'm trying to, have people accept me for who I am, especially where I'm at, because I really appreciate the help they're giving me. But when I come across these people, it's kind of hard situation.
Well, yeah, I think you've come through so much just to be here today, and let alone be homeless, go through this relationship, to kind of go against your family history back then and be where you are now, and then to come all this way and then have maybe just a couple people, even if it's just an employee or two, kind of almost go against everything that you believe to be true.
Yes. Yeah.
How does that kind of carry from that Christian organization back onto the streets when you're homeless there? Do you find that there's a carryover?
There's a what?
Do you find that there's any maybe carryover with the people around you at that service as opposed to the people on the streets there?
Well, I kind of feel like while I'm there, I have to be a certain way. And then obviously when I'm out in the streets, I could be a certain way around certain people, not with all the homeless population, because obviously there's still that issue with, of who I am.
Yeah. You almost have to pretend like you're somebody that you're not.
Exactly. Yeah. But then I do got some support, with certain individuals in the homeless population that I do consider friends, and who do, we watch each other's backs, and, they watch over my stuff. I watch over their stuff. My closest friend, I've slept in her car. She's embraced me really well while being homeless, and I haven't been friends with her that long. So that's been a big plus.
Well, just like you said, you've only been friends for a short amount of time, but she's already family to you.
Yeah, exactly. And she's pregnant too. So
wow.
I've kind of embraced her pregnancy also.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're part of her journey almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting the sense that even though it's just a brief relationship so far, not only do you feel like you're kind of part of her journey, but I would assume that she probably feels that she's kind of part of your journey as well.
Yeah. And then what's good is, she has her boyfriend too, and he accepts me also. There's no issue with, me and her being friends, and he's okay with, all of us helping each other out, which is a good thing.
I think it's interesting kind of just in the brief kind of time that we've really started this session, we've talked about kind of your transition of just being homeless, and then assessing services, and then kind of connecting with this friend on the street. And you've brought up this theme of just being accepted with every single situation.
Yeah.
It's almost like you find yourself always just thinking about how other people may think of you despite your circumstances of where you are throughout the day.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, everything's been, it could be better, but I'm hoping it could get better. So.
Well, although it may seem tough now, I think you're headed in the direction. Just being here and willing to speak with me, and being willing to seek out services at an agency that maybe have different opinions about you, and to harbor those really close relationships with your friend. I think I'm seeing this pattern of all, you might be thinking of what other people might think of you, but at the same time, you're also considerate of where you need to grow and what you need to do to kind of move forward to the next step.
Right. And then also, the whole separation with my spouse, it's like I still want to work that relationship out with her, but she's not willing to, work it out with me. So I kind of feel like my financial situation is also kind of drifting her away from wanting to reconcile and make things work also. Mm-hmm. But I let her know that it takes time. I want to get out of the situation I'm in, but it's going to take time. It's progress, but I'll get there eventually. But she's not willing to understand and, be there when I need her.
Well, it's obvious that you have just incredible motivation. You have this really secure sense of pride in who you are. And it's even just in the 3 or 4 sessions that we've had together, it's really obvious that this sense of pride and motivation to kind of move to the next step and move forward and either rekindle or kind of move towards new relationships. It's just, you always are kind of looking forward to to where you could be as opposed to maybe where you are.
Right. I mean, but I do still have that hope that hopefully, we could still fix our marriage and make it work.
Well, yeah, I mean, this individual still means a lot to you. Because I
Yeah.
know you separated due to financial reasons, if I remember correctly,
Right.
as opposed to more emotional or spiritual conflict.
Right. Yeah. We lived in Walnut Creek in
Mhm.
California, and, everything was good, and, things just went wrong and with our finances, and, she went her way, I went my way, but we still keep in communication, obviously. So.
Right. Well, it's from what I understand, I've never met that individual specifically, but everything that you said about them has been positive, which I think is incredible considering what you guys have just recently gone through. And so I think
Right.
it only just speaks more to your character about how, again, although it might be hard and you might have gone through difficult things in the past, you're always focused on going forward and looking to just kind of the strength of not only your past, but the future and your potential and your motivation to kind of make things right.
Right. I know. Thank you so much for, being here for me throughout all these sessions, and, hearing me out. It's helped a lot.
Well, and that's my job here. It's just I invite this opportunity for you to kind of just speak about what you're feeling. And at the end of the day, I think it's important to remember that I'm just another guy kind of talking you through what you're experiencing. All this strength and the growth that you've experienced, comes from you.
Thank you. Yeah. I've, I kind of feel like first session I've been feeling comfortable. Well, first session was a little bit, iffy because you don't know
Right.
the person. I don't know
Someone
what you're going to think of me. So,
Yeah. Well, of course.
but that comfort has built. And so, yeah, it's been good, these sessions. So.
Good. Well, I know our time is kind of running short and we're always kind of just on this little window of time, but that's very intentional because what we do here is for you to grow and kind of maybe realize areas where you can kind of move forward. And so you can go out from here and continue to move forward and kind of move over these obstacles and keep pursuing ways in which you can better yourself. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you.
We'll keep chatting as need be. My office is always open. I know we have our weekly sessions. But at this point in time, that's just about all we had for this week. Just to kind of touch base on where we've been. I know you came in kind of explaining about your finances, and we can continue to work on that. I know we've had forums in the past couple of weeks, and we're kind of addressing those as time comes up.
Right.
And we'll just kind of keep moving forward, and I'm here to just kind of discuss where you're going, and I'm here every step of the way for the time being.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions about anything that we've chatted about today? Anything that's going on?
No questions at all. If anything comes up, then I'll definitely stop by your office or give you a ring to see if, you're open and have any open time.
Please do. I'm always available.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. I'll see you next week. All right.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
So I guess kind of just to debrief, because that was about, 12, 14 minutes. I guess with Angelo here, this is the fourth or fifth time that we've kind of come together and kind of discussed where Angelo's moving and kind of his identity and how he's moving through his, I think just his cultural experience is a big kind of play at the time being, and kind of being accepted and just understanding the community around him, despite that being community services, a friend on the street, family in the past. But a lot of it is this theme that I've kind of seen in the client over the last couple sessions is there's this kind of repetitive pattern that the client presents as incredibly motivated, presents as really strong, but kind of always underlines those comments with, it's almost like a self jab. Like they say, hey, I'm strong, I'm doing this, but then he'll kind of come back with that and say, but I'm not feeling accepted, or I don't know if this is going the way I want it to go, or there's always that kind of self-doubt. And so what I did is just as the worker this week, primarily to kind of have the client presented, is I focused more on just motivational interviewing, really simple reflections, kind of summaries now and again too, because with our sessions being so short, I think it's important to kind of summarize those points as we move from point to point to make sure that we don't just sit down, chat, and then stand up and move forward from there. Kind of another thing too is that kind of relying more on the strength-based perspective and just kind of an integrative approach there. I think there's a lot of value in identifying the pride and the culture behind my client, because although everyone has culture, I think it's really interesting with Angelo because he has kind of grown up in this really unique experience to almost kind of self-identify what his culture is, as opposed to being born and kind of raised up in a specific culture itself. And so for Angelo, being able to identify that pride and that strength in what he finds as important to his own life is huge. And that's where a lot of that integrative approach kind of comes into play, where I kind of fall back and rely on where he might bring up a simple point or a simple fact that might be matter of fact for him. It's important for me as the worker to kind of remind him that that's his choice and that's the strength that he decided to fall onto, and how that's making a positive impact on his just life going forward. So I don't know, kind of between, for this session this week, it was mostly motivational interviewing, strength-based perspective, integrative therapeutic approach, just kind of a brief summary at the end, kind of summarizing where we went for the session, and then of course the start of the session with kind of just a really friendly confidentiality statement, because it's easy to go by the book and like you do that with every client, but this is the 4th or 5th time that we come together. And so just, although it's easy to kind of skim over that, kind of jokingly say like, hey, we're a free environment here, speak as you will, but at the very same token, I'm still a worker. I'm still held by a licensing board who I have to answer to. And so I'm a mandated reporter and have to follow those laws as anyone else does. That was just kind of all briefly came together in our little session this week, and that's exactly where we were. So that was kind of that. Did you have any questions at all, kind of, Maribel, kind of about the session, or any feedback or anything like that?
No, I think you did really, really good. I think you really went with the flow. You sounded like a professional, really, I'll be honest.
Sweet.
You were like, even though it's not me, but I kind of felt like you were flowing really well, and you were like on it with everything.
Cool. Well, thank you. Cool. Well, I mean, we'll keep doing and working together, but thanks for doing that with me this week.
No problem.